You can access the entire episode now on our website, forbiddenknowledge.news, Rokfin, Rumble, and all podcast platforms. You mentioned some magical words there, some of these cryptid creatures, that I am right in the midst of shooting a docuseries about some of these creatures, mainly in the Louisiana area, and the possibility that these are some sort of chimeras or experiment by our military-industrial complex has come up numerous times from numerous people, and I've considered this as well. It would be a very simple and possible explanation for these creatures. I've heard from different whistleblowers testimony that some of these beings had escaped from certain underground facilities and either attacked people, things of that nature. So that's very interesting to consider. You think that all these cryptids too are hybrid chimera beings?
So I've had, and some of your listeners may be familiar with him. His name is Gary Wayne.
Yeah, I had him on the other day.
Yeah, he's the author of the Genesis 6 Conspiracy, and we talk a lot about the Nephilim. But I did a lot of research on my own to try to troubleshoot, if you will, some of the questions that I get asked a lot by my listeners. And one of them was Big Feet and Mothman and Dogman. And in the Bible, it does state that the fallen ones had families not only with human women, but with animals. And so if you could imagine what a fallen angel and a dog would look like, or a fallen angel and a ape would
primate
look
of some
like,
sort,
or whatever a fallen angel and a horse would look like, you may get Big Feet and Dogmen and bird-headed beings and dog-headed beings and unicorns and all these things that are seen throughout time, because you do see them throughout time. So that makes sense to me, but I also think that they are doing experiments to kind of hijack these creatures. So let's say that they're interdimensional, that they have interdimensional capabilities like their parents, the fallen angels, would have. So they're able to go in and out of realities. And this is just naturally occurring. They have this ability to do that. They get hijacked, and they are experimented on for the benefit of whatever program they're needing them for. So a lot of the experiments that they do are to make them aggressive, kind of like a weapon against humanity. Because a lot of Bigfoot encounters you hear, they're just passing through, collecting berries, and you never find them. You go look for them, they're gone. But then some of the Dogman stories you hear, they're super aggressive. They want to rip your head off. They're demonic in nature, this and that. So you almost have to wonder, are they programming these creatures to do their bidding? Or is it kind of a mix, and some are naturally occurring and some have been produced in a lab or whatever? I mean, there's so many different camps on that.
Yeah, and I've even considered the possibility that what we consider paranormal activity in many aspects could be some sort of grand trickster intelligence that knows how to manifest into our perception based on what our awareness will allow, or based on what they want us to perceive it as. Have you ever thought about that possibility?
Absolutely. I think that the last few years, especially after COVID hit, the veil between our world and other dimensions is very, very thin. I think that kind of like what they said in Ghostbusters, I know it's funny, but they're in the car talking about the apocalypse and the end of the world and how the dead will rise from the grave and blah, blah, blah. But it's so real, because I feel like activity has picked up these last few years. And is it your dead loved ones? Maybe. A lot of people do think that it could be residual or an intelligent haunting or whatever. Maybe you are seeing the deceased spirit of a human being. Or is it an entity that has crossed over and assumed the likeness of someone you would feel comfortable with? So it may look like grandma or grandpa or mom or dad or whoever, but is it really, or are entities just kind of freely crossing from our plane to the next? And another thing that I've thought about is when you go to some of these abandoned and asylums and mental facilities and places where people have been tortured or died in terrible ways, tuberculosis hospitals, why is the activity so heavy there? And it's because people were usually in a petrified state when they died. So there's a lot of energy for those entities to feed off of. So of course they're going to have an easier time entering into a place like that, prisons and insane asylums, than it would be at your grandma's house, which your grandma's house might be haunted, I don't know. But they seem to feed on a lot of toxic energy. So yeah, I'm again on the fence between two things there, because I've had paranormal experiences myself, so I'm conflicted.
Well, let me add one more theory to this bucket, one more possibility that I consider often, and it leads to simulation theory, holographic universe. It's the possibility that if we are avatars here, and just like a video game, our essence or our spirit is outside of this, and we're controlling these avatars to a certain extent. What if certain spiritual experiences, profound paranormal experiences, are a sort of like cheat code because we're screwing up so badly? We're just eating shit and we're going the wrong direction and we're outside the simulation. We're like, no, give this guy a Bigfoot. He needs, give this guy a demonic experience. He needs to snap out of this shit. Yeah. So that's something else interesting.
No, I like that. I had not considered that. It's like a game for them. We have to level up to get to the next boss. I got you. So that's very true. I talk a lot on my show about kind of like us being in the Truman Show. So yeah, that's definitely a possibility. And some of the paranormal experiences I had were, like you said, profound. They did change me in a way, because I started realizing there's more than just punching a clock 9 to 5 and you go to work, you come home, you go to sleep. There's this whole astral realm that's going on at all times around us. And I used to see actually my living loved ones walking around my house, and I would call out to them and be like, hey, Brooke, for example, or my cousin Brooke, I'd be like, hey, Brooke, what's up? And looked just like her, looked her in the eye, everything, talked like her, walked like her, smelled like her. And then I would find out later that she had been in her room asleep the whole time, that she had never been in the kitchen, that we never had that conversation. So it was like, who was I talking to? And that happened several times. But if they can assume the identity of a living person, or let's say it's a glitch in the Matrix, I know it happened because I'm not crazy, and other people saw me, for example, and I would say, no, I wasn't even home. I was at work. That wasn't me. So is it just hot spots? Maybe you built a house accidentally on a ley line. Oopsie, my bad.
Maybe so.
You know?
Or it could be like the multiverse theory, where there's multiple realities occurring at one time, and there are bleed-throughs for whatever reason from these different realities. That's also interesting.
Yes, for sure. No, I agree with you. It's fucked up either way.
It is. Now, I want to go back to something that we were touching on, the military-industrial scientific aspect of creating horrible creatures and experiments.